Welcome to the Real Chili Podcast.
And the Golden Eagles of Marquette University in Milwaukee are bound for the Final Four for only the third time ever.
5 seconds left. Marquette down by one, trying to avoid the upset. Blue the drive, the left hand. It's good. 1 second to play. Vander Blue has put Marquette in front by one.
And I want to win every day as basketball players, as students, and I want to win every day, most importantly, as people.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Real Chili Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Lavender. I'm joined by Pete Mohan. I'm joined by Brian Henry. And Marquette this afternoon has walked away with an 87-82 road victory. It's third of the season from Cincinnati with a victory over Xavier. Fellas, this was a game in which Marquette was down big in the second half, and somehow, some way, they found a way to gut it out on the road. An impressive win for Marquette.
This is a game that a year ago, 2 years ago, I don't think they win. And it's a demonstration of the growth that they have experienced this season. It's a credit to the coaches. The best three players played like the best three players, and they overcame a clunker of a game from Theo John. But because the other three stepped up and hit some timely free throws down the stretch, they get a win. That I am as impressed with that win today as any of the other ones this year, because they probably, for most of it, didn't deserve to win it, and they did enough in the second half and powered themselves through against, I think, is an inferior opponent and got a victory. Very excellent win.
Well, not only that, Brian, but and you mentioned not too many minutes from Theo John. Also didn't really have Ed Morrow available for the second half, so we had Matt Heldt playing a solid 20 minutes today. And, he held his own. He didn't play great, but following our previous away performance, a gutty win at Georgetown without Markus Howard, we've now proven that we can win no matter, who's struggling, who can't make it on the floor, or whatever it takes. Our team is just an intrinsic ability to make up for others' shortcomings and really play as a cohesive unit and keep the game plan going, next man up. So I think that's the biggest storyline for me.
Brian, you mentioned this in the top, and Mohan, you touched on this as well. When your three best players all show up, it's going to be tough to lose, particularly for this Marquette team. Markus Howard finished with 31 points. Joey had 21 points, particularly big early in the game. Joey was with a number of key three-pointers to keep us going, and Sam finished with 20 points. So what is that? Let's see, 41. That is 72 points from your three leading scorers. That is impressive, probably the biggest total we've seen this year. But maybe we can dive a little bit into the first half, fellas, because this was a weird game. It kind of went back and forth in the first half, and the second half was Xavier got out to a big lead. But in the first half, as I said, this was an offensive performance from both teams. I don't think it was bad defense, Mohan, as you pointed out on the text chain. It was just good offense. Xavier's shot was falling. Markus, Sam, Joey all had a number of big threes in the first half, and it was just a lot of fireworks in the first half.
Yeah, I think that if you were watching the game, you could tell that the rims at Cintas were a little bit softer than a January flurry outside. They were in that range. Everything went in for both teams.
Yeah.
And, it was just an impressive offensive performance, some of the shots that both teams were making. And I think that it was noticeable, especially the lack of Theo on the court. It was just a totally different defense, essentially. The shots that were available to Xavier because Theo wasn't on the court, it's obviously a lot harder to defend as a team when you don't have that stalwart at the rim. So I think that we did a good job to just hang in there and go into halftime tied with both teams shooting hot, and then really focus on ourselves and play our game in the second half. And that's what put us up top.
But, off of that first half comment, you get into the second, I believe it was a little around, Xavier came out and threw couple of big haymakers to start the half. They stretched the lead to 11 points about 6 minutes into the half. And at that point, you have to kind of be sitting there going, oh, God, it's just one of those games that happens during the year. You go on the road, you don't play well. Obviously, Theo being in foul trouble and not giving a whole lot hurts. And to their credit, man, did they fight back. Mike, you said it. They shot the ball well from those three. Props to – you already pointed him out. Props to Matt Heldt, that huge possession with about 4 minutes left. Snagged a big offensive rebound, kicked out to Hauser. That gave them the lead. They didn't look back from there. Like, you need contributions like that. Brendan Bailey hitting some big free throws down the stretch when, they were fouling. He didn't score a ton of points, but went to the line and knocked him down. Sakar knocked down his free throws. I'm repeating myself, but you go on the road against a team that you're better than. You don't play great. It feels like it's getting away. Good teams win games like that today, and they found a way to do it. So props to the coaching staff and the players for getting through it and making it happen.
And I just want to shout out Bailey as well. He didn't play he played 18 minutes, which is probably pretty close to a season high for him. But there was a lot of times where his on-ball defense was really impressive, including some of those last few possessions. To be able to throw him in there, Jamal, has the same utility at times, but to be able to throw in a 6'8" guy on one of the other team's best ball handlers or shooters, and his defensive agility and ability to stop both jump shots and drives is really key when you are in that late stage of a game and a guy is going ISO or he's going to drive. The guy's going to make an individual play. To be able to have that ball stopper in Bailey is important.
And Bailey's defense, we saw him earlier in the year, and I think there's been spurts like at Georgetown where Bailey has contributed offensively and really made a difference. This wasn't one of those games. But early in the year, Mohan, Bailey was – I guess still getting his sea legs. Like he was still acclimating back to the pace and the tempo of the college game. But he's just kind of like glued to his guy. And part of it's his length. Part of it is just the way he plays defense. But every time I think the man he is defending is about to pivot out and get a wide open layup underneath the basket, Bailey all of a sudden just kind of slingshots back to him and gets a hand close enough in his face where he makes a huge difference. He does. And his play over the past month or several weeks is as big a story as any for this Marquette team.
18 minutes off the bench for him, over this 4-game stretch where he's really starting to get a lot of burn. We've commented since we've seen it. It changes the way you play defense with that kind of length. And that's nothing. Sakar's obviously an athletic guy who can guard, but when they replace each other, you get a lot bigger out there, easier to challenge, easier to tip passes, easier keep balls alive that come off the rim. Brendan, we knew there was obviously, he had a big scouting report on him, goes away for his Mormon mission, comes back. He's an older freshman. There's a lot of hopes that he turns into a high major player and kind of not a roll the dice guy, but a roll the dice guy in that I think he has down the road superstar potential. Not there yet, but I think he has the physical frame and skill set to where if he progresses, he could look like a Sam Hauser in 2 years maybe, and you go, wow, like kid can shoot it, defend it, rebound, smart player. I think that could be his future. But, yeah, I agree with you. What a shot in the arm he has been this year as he's gotten better.
Yeah. And we touched on it a bit, but – I feel like we do this every pod. We're like, hey, and we got to take a break and give Joey his due props. But I think we need to do it again.
And Sam, both of them.
We've come to expect it from Sam. I'm still getting used to the fact, acclimated to the fact that Joey is able to do this so consistently. Tonight he put up 21 points. He's not always going to put 21 points up. He was 5 of 6 from 3. In a number, I think he was 3 for 4, maybe 4 for 5 early in the first half. And in the first half, as this was, we were tied at halftime at 39. In the first half, Xavier was playing great defense. They, had length on Markus. They weren't giving Markus an inch. Markus only finished the first half with 12 points. So relatively quiet in terms of Marcus's standards, or I guess about on par with his average. But Joey really stepped up and continues to step up. So this isn't a new story. to some degree, we're beginning to repeat ourselves. But Joey Hauser continues to impress. Can't say enough about the kid. The way he plays the game, the intelligence, and just, shout out to Eric Pond, the cojones that the silver tuna Joey Hauser has. He's not scared. He'll take a big shot, and it goes right through him.
No doubt. Pete, how impressed are you? To me, of all the great things about his stat line today, how impressed are you with the fact 38 minutes for Joey? You can't take him off the court. You can't come off. He's that level of valuable. He's that ready to play. There's a reason he had 5 stars next to his name, and he's living up to him right now.
Well, I'm not going to say I bought low on Joey early in the season, but I think that he's certainly proven that he's as versatile of a player in the Big East as there is. I mean, his offensive ability is – I think that if there was a first-team All-Big East offense, Joey would have to be in the conversation. I mean, his offensive contribution isn't just at the three-point line. He has ability to drive it, and I think that our offense runs better when he is doing that. But I think this team has shown an ability now to take the next step on offense by just playing smarter basketball and not turning the ball over as much. We did have a blip against DePaul. I know we didn't pod after the DePaul game where we had 19 turnovers, including 8 by Markus. But, today played a lot safer on the offensive end, only turned it over 9 times after only turning over 6 times against Providence in the game before DePaul. So hopefully we're trending in the right direction there because, I mean, if this team has the ability to reduce their turnovers on a regular basis and play under 10 turnovers, they're going to be near impossible to beat down the stretch.
Yeah, I think that's right. And, we mentioned this earlier, but I want to make sure we also give this its due credit is Theo John, because I thought this storyline, how Marquette's bigs affected the game. We talked about Matt Heldt a little bit, Brian. I think you made this point. But Theo, whether – you think he didn't play as well and was foul prone, whatever the case, Theo didn't get a lot of minutes on the court. He only ended up with 12, which is much less than he's been averaging over the past number of games. And so that really put Matt Heldt into a position where he needed to step up. Mohan, you were pointing out he had an astronomically high offensive rating. He was perfect from the field. He had a couple of big rebounds, in particular, Bubbles, the one that you mentioned earlier. But the interesting thing to me, and I haven't seen anything, but Ed Morrow only got 7 minutes. He played early. I didn't notice anything watching the TV broadcast that he re-aggravated his ankle injury or anything like that. So it's not exactly clear to me what happened with Ed. And it in part doesn't matter because next guy's got to step up. Matt Heldt did his job. But I think it's interesting that Ed Morrow only got 7 minutes in a case where we needed him. We could have used him. So that's a storyline to keep your eye on as you over the next few games.
Well, I think just the biggest macro takeaway here is something that we haven't even mentioned yet is 7 straight wins in the Big East. That's an insane stretch. Yeah. I mean, by any standards, anytime you can beat 7 Big East teams in a row, that's a hell of a performance. Doesn't matter who you are.
First time in 7 years that this program has accomplished that. The 2012 team, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, that would have done that. That was the year before we went to the Elite Eight. So that was when we got drilled by North Carolina in the Sweet 16 that year. That was Jay Crowder's last year. That was a good team. That was a good team that did that.
We actually that was drilled by Florida.
That's right. Thank you. That's
Still
right.
Drilled though, nonetheless.
It was Carolina was previous year. Good call.
Yeah.
And I want to say, when we were sitting here on January 2nd scratching our asses about St. John's and that loss there.
Wait, you're not scratching your ass right now?
No.
Okay.
One-handed typing. At that point in the season, is this team ever going to win on the road? Are they ever going to win on the road? Well, we've won 3 in a row on the road, all in gritty performances, I guess you could say. And – I mean, if you're 3-1 in the Big East on the road,
take it. Get out of there. Take it.
We have the opportunity to go 4-1 on the road at Butler on Wednesday.
Yeah. No, Just put an L next to it. We're losing on Wednesday. It's happening.
We can take an L. That's the beauty. We're 7-1.
Oh, I know that. I'm just getting everybody mentally ready for the house of horrors that is Hinkle Fieldhouse. Anybody want to measure a guess? I went and did a little quick half-hearted internet research. Last time Marquette won at Butler. Anyone want to venture a guess?
I don't know. Our social media team tweeted this out relatively recently, but I have no memory of what they put together.
Did they? Oh, I forgot that the social media team was on that. February 1st of 1990. Marquette's last victory. I'm looking at it right here. We have, since Butler and Marquette joined the same conference, we have yet to win at Hinkle Fieldhouse. 1990, the last time we went in there and won. It's been a while. Just deal with it, people. We're going to get our asses kicked, but it's okay. It's just maybe we'll win. Who knows? I don't know. I just accept nothing good happens at Butler. So,
I agree. Nothing good happens at Butler. And look, it's not just Marquette. If you look at the most difficult places to play on the road in the Big East, Butler is right up there with Villanova, and in part because Villanova has been such a phenomenal team over the past few years. But Butler is a tough place to play for anyone, even if they are having I don't know if they're having a down year, but they're having a different year, that's for sure. Bohan, you made the point about the 7-game winning streak. The thing that impresses me most about that, aside from 7-0, is that we've done it in so many different ways. In that 7-game winning streak, you have the win at Georgetown without Markus Howard. You have the win at Creighton where Markus Howard goes crazy. You have these grinded out wins against Xavier in Georgetown. We've done it so many different ways. This isn't a one-sided team. This isn't a team who if the defense can stop your main attack, you're fucked. We are a Swiss Army knife, and we have been able to deploy that throughout this 7-game stretch and increasingly throughout the season. That's what gives me hope for the remainder of the season, our ultimate seeding and where we go in the tournament.
I will say, though, I think that we are due to come a little bit back down to earth. This is an easy stretch of the schedule per se. I mean, I remember when we were doing the season preview, we were like, okay, this is a first 8-game stretch that we actually could go 8-0 in this stretch if we really tried, and we damn near came close to doing that. But I mean, not that St. John's was ever a close game, but still, to go 7-1 in your first 8 games, it wasn't the hardest schedule that we're going to see in the Big East, and there are some tough games coming up.
Well, I think that's a great point, and we were talking about that before we jumped on. I'm looking at a ESPN list of the top ranked conferences in college basketball. The Big East currently sits at 3, and Brian, I think this streak, for those of us who are self-critical and self-aware, immediately raises the question of what's the quality of the Big East? We see this Marquette team sitting at 7-1 now, near the top or at the top of the Big East with Villanova. Are we sure that where Marquette is because of our talent, or how much of a factor is the low quality of Big East playing into this?
Let me preface my point by saying I love this league. I want this league to be great. Was begrudgingly happy when Villanova won a couple national titles. It was good for everybody. It was fun when Doug McDermott was hitting jumpers that first year, even when we fell flat on our face. And quite frankly, I think the best thing about the new league is that Georgetown has sucked for all of it. And that's been great for everybody. But this season, gentlemen, do you know who's currently, granted in a tie, sitting in 3rd place in this conference? That would be your hometown, for those of you in Chicago. DePaul Blue Demons. Holy crap. Why? How? St. John's. Chris Mullen. How have you not taken control of number 3 in this league? Outside of Marquette and Villanova, nobody has a winning record in this conference right now. We are just slap fighting each other to death. Yes, I do think it's a fair, not a take, it's reality. It's a 2-team league right now, and Marquette and Villanova are lapping the field as we get close to the halfway point of the conference. Nobody else is, you think by the end somebody will, but tell me who the other NCAA tournament teams are in this league, not named Villanova and Marquette, that you would put a gun to your head and say they'll be there in March. Who do you think?
I think your best bet is Creighton.
Creighton right now at 12-8, 3-4 in the league. Butler 12-9, 3-5 in the league.
Well, Brian, to your point about DePaul being third, let's be sure to be clear about that. There is a 4-way tie for third place among St. John's, Creighton, Seton Hall, and DePaul. I know you were saying that some of those teams should distinguish themselves to be third, but there's a 4-way tie for third.
Do not accuse me of fake news. DePaul is currently tied for third in this league. That is the facts. All something we have to deal with. People have to tell their kids that when they put them to bed at night. I don't want to live in a world with DePaul third in the Big East. Or for the love of God, let them actually be good, but they never will. So silliness aside, the league doesn't – I mean, it's amazing to have say ESPN has them ranked third. It sure doesn't look like the third best league in the country, but what are you going to do? I mean, who knows? And long way to go. But right now, I mean, doesn't look great with the overall resume. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you get into these conversations, and these will become louder and louder as we get closer and closer to March, and seeding becomes more important, and people start taking shots at the Big East because should this team get in because the Big East is so shitty and this is their record in it. That obviously won't be a problem, at least at this point for Marquette, but Marquette is able to fall back on a strong non-conference resume for the most part.
And this would be the one thing that's interesting as you tie it back to Villanova. Villanova looked lost in non-conference play for a stretch. A lot of teams made them look bad. Granted, no shame in getting your ass kicked by Michigan. They got, tuned up by them, but, they did go beat Florida State, which was impressive, but, they did struggle and lose some other – they got beat by Penn. That's not – ideal, lost to Kansas. Like, Nova showed some cracks in the non-con, and then, they're rolling through everybody right now. So we don't have to spend the entire day on it. Just something to think about here as you stare at Marquette at 7-1, I'd still like to see a little bit more. That's all.
Well, you can't ask for more than 7-0, but I hear you. Mohan, we are nearly halfway through the Big East Conference season, and I think this is what we want to wrap it up with here on this pod. We're nearly halfway through the Big East Conference season. We've got 10 games left. Halfway point is 9 games left. We were just talking before we got on. You were saying it's crazy to look and see that we've only got 3 losses next to our name, and those feel distant. How many more losses do you reasonably see coming in this conference game, and who do you think they come at the hands to?
We got what? We got 10 games left.
10 games
playing
left.
8.
Yep.
I think we go 7-3, but 14-4 that's amazing. I was pretty optimistic, I think, heading into this season, and I don't think any of us comfortably would have predicted 14-4. Sure, it was within the realm of possibility. We're a good squad, but going 7-3 down the stretch would put us at 14-4, and I think that I'm sure we would lose at least once to Villanova. Yep. I think that, we'll probably have another away loss that we don't see coming, Providence or Seton Hall maybe on the road.
Maybe third place to Paul. Who knows?
We could lose it. We could lose it to Paul. Third place to Paul. They're a pretty good squad. So, I don't know. There's definitely going to be losses out there. Look, we're riding high right now, but you have to be able to see that there are losses on the horizon just because this is a great league and we're playing great teams, even though it's not the league that we have seen in the past. These are well-coached squads with a tradition for solid basketball. It's not like, we're not talking about Patrick Ewing or Chris Mullin's teams.
Thank you. Thank you. Shane Mullin and Ewing. Thank you.
Even Leitao is better than them.
No, oh God. Oh God.
Wavy Lays, Tao. All right. Anyways, this team is good. That's the bottom line. This team is good. There's nobody out there that can argue that this team is not good.
Marquette has, over the past number of days, consistently been ranked as a 4 seed, either a high or low 4 seed, depending on who you're talking to. So you're looking at a 4-13 matchup. So if you're looking at your brackets, starting to figure out who Marquette may be faced up against in March, that's what you want to be looking towards. It's a good team, long way to go, 10 games left. There are still 2 teams in the Big East that we haven't faced. Butler and obviously Villanova. Circle your calendars for Saturday, February 9th against Villanova. It's going to be on Fox. It's in Milwaukee. assuming we can handle St. John's, the undefeated record at Fiserv Forum will still be intact. It's going to be a fun one, fellas. Been a hell of a year so far. Still a long way to go. All right.
Well, I've said everything I wanted to say. No, yeah, sure. Final thoughts. Yeah, we're kind of good. Whatever you say. St. John's and Georgetown. You guys aren't.
Final thoughts for me. Marcus, Sam, and Joey, if they wanted to just not even go pro and just open a shooting camp, they could make millions of dollars. Just buy some property and teach kids how to shoot, because they're at like the pinnacle of shooting stroke. All three of those guys.
That is your hottest take of the year. Way to go.
They're at the pinnacle of wetness.
They're at the pinnacle of wetness. They splash harder than
splash harder than the Spash Bros.
Than a tsunami. There's not even anything that splashes. Maybe Flipper. Does Flipper splash more than those?
I mean, have you ever seen a tsunami? It splashes pretty hard.
It does. It does. Have you ever seen
it's a lot of water.
A lot of water, a lot of wetness. All right, folks. We're at the end of our ropes here. Great day for Marquette. More fun coming up in this basketball season. Thanks for tuning in, as always, to this podcast. We appreciate all the listens. Signing off for Pete Mohan, signing off for Brian Henry, and everyone else here at the Real Chili Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Lavender. We'll talk to you next time.